Welcome to all the beautiful souls who are aligned to this great program through the PMC English for the magnificent pearls of wisdom which are being made available to us through the book Thinking and Destiny, authored by Harold Waldwin Percival. Thanks to our Brahmarshi Pitamaha Patriji, who has taken the trouble to give us the cream of this message from this great author to all the spiritual seekers across the world. I am S.K. Rajan, representing the Pyramid Valley International and also the Indian Federation of Spiritual Scientists as its chairman. I take pleasure in introducing to you Brahma Vidvarishta Girija Rajan and Purnima, a past life therapist and tarot card reader. Their comments will come in useful to us in the course of my reading of this book, Thinking and Destiny. The book Thinking and Destiny represents a towering and masterly accomplishment by Harold Waldwin Percival, the great spiritual teacher. He has revealed the true state and potential of the human being. As we begin to read this book, we start realizing that Percival is unique in having a system of conveying his knowledge which calls into use faculties which have been dormant for a long time in all of us. And we also realize that our capacity to understand grows with each reading. So, the book also leads us to wonder how it could be that we have been without this knowledge for so long, and we also understand the reasons for that as we start reading the book and completing the book. So, friends, I assure you that having evinced interest to know what the book is conveying, you are all the chosen ones. We are all the chosen ones too. And one more important factor is that Harold Waldwin Percival is also a chosen one because he is chosen to convey the message from the astral masters on the latest in spiritual wisdom. Yesterday we were analyzing how thoughts have to be balanced and how they can be exteriorized. So we have to understand that thoughts need to be pure if they have to create a good destiny. I go on to read now, and please be still with yourself to understand every word of what is being conveyed to us. If the thought is not balanced at that exteriorization, then exteriorizations must continue until in time, by some one exteriorization, the whole thought has been exteriorized and is itself balanced by the doer. A thought may find exteriorization either as an act of the one who thought it or as an event happening to him because of the exteriorization of the thought of another person, which his own past thought brings about. To balance a thought is to return to nature all that is nature matter in the thought, and to return to the doer all that belongs to the doer. The balance is made at one of the exteriorizations of the thought. Then the thought is abrogated and it ceases to exist and is balanced. A human balances a thought when when he performs a duty willingly and intelligently without attachment to the results. He may not know about the thought or the method by which he balances it. Nevertheless, the thought is balanced by him.
Yeah, excellently explained by our great Harold W. Percival, sir. First of all, we have to be still in order to understand and to hear the wisdom that has been read out to you. So, let us go into the matter that he has been explaining so far. He says, a thought will exteriorize or will materialize at different stages, at different times, according to the situation, time, and place. And finally, the entire thought has to be fulfilled or materialized. Then the thought is automatically balanced by the person who is issuing the thought. That is, he comes to a stage when he will never be attached to the results of his own thought. A thought can be of his or of another's. Somebody else's thought also can form an event and he will be part of it. So, like that, it goes on, and the thought has to return to the nature, whatever belonged to the nature, and return to the doer, the triune self, whatever belonged to the triune self. Only then everything is balanced. He should, what Percival advises us to do is to perform any act, even the smallest we think, the trivial ones, also with our wholehearted involvement and never to be attached to the result of our action. So every action, even though they may appear to be very small, a tiny act, even that has to be performed only with all our heart, all our attention. Then when we are not attached to the result of our action, then what happens is the thought is balanced. Then at that time we won't create any destiny at all. So we should come to that stage when we think of something, we will never be attached to it. When we do something, we will never be attached to it. When we talk about something, we will never be attached to it, to the object of our thought. We will never be attached. In that case only we will be able to come out of all the destiny that we have created, and we will, whatever comes our way, we will accept it wholeheartedly also. That is also very important, because the thought has been already set into motion long ago, and it has come in front of us now, because the situation, time and place are all congenial for it to materialize. So this is the great advice that is given by Percival to us, so that we will lead a life when we do not create any destiny for us. So when we create destinies, we have to keep on facing the destiny, and also we have to keep on coming to the earth, being born as humans several times in order to balance those thoughts.
Hello, friends. So, two things we have to remember after hearing this paragraph. I only feel I should tell you these two things. One is willingness to do anything, willingness to do or like accept anything that comes your way, and also the non-attachment part, to non-attachment to the results of any thought. So these two will get you to balancing your thought, and when your thought is balanced, he says it goes back to nature, so that you put an end to that, thought. And that's what Percival makes it clear here. So two things have to be remembered. So I hope it is clear to all the viewers. We can proceed to the next paragraph.
The knower and the thinker of the triune self are always ready. The doer is not ready because it is not willing to let go of that in the thought which is nature matter and which it tries to make a part of itself. The doer person makes itself ready, though the human does not know it, when it desires to be honest and to do right and to be informed of its ignorance about itself and about what it wants. Some of the events which will exteriorize the design may follow only after long periods. The mystery of the physical world is caused by this separation of cause and effect. Though cause and effect become separated, there is an indissoluble connection between them and a tendency towards balancing at every stage. Conditions and opportunities do not always permit an immediate balance, but the tendency to bring one about is there in the thought and will fulfill itself in the end. The energy in a thought is not exhausted until the thought is balanced. Usually, there are no outward indications of the connection between the results and a still existing thought. And though a thought is a part of the man who issued it, there is then no physical evidence to show his connection with the belated or outstanding exteriorization. But whenever an exteriorization of a thought occurs as an event in the life of someone and the results of joy or sorrow follow, his thought is there and brings about the event to him.
Yeah, so beautiful. The karma theory has been explained here because karma doesn't come to us immediately. There is something called as instant karma. The result of the cause is experienced by the thinker immediately. But there are some karmas which are delayed. So we do not even know that the thought and the karma or the result of it, they are connected at all. Because outwardly it seems to be separated. They don't have any link at all. That's what we think. But they always have the link, and definitely when the thought is exteriorized and the event is in front of us, we pass through that. We know about the thought through our feelings, either sorrow or our happiness. So that is how we come to know. So now what happens, the other two parts, the thinker and the knower, always want the connection to the doer. But the doer refuses to understand it or ignores that, or if he is in a state of forgetfulness, because the nature matter that is occupying him mostly. So he thinks that alone is truth, and he doesn't even understand that he is one part who is the trine self. But when the realization comes, then every thought is materialized or exteriorized, and thereby the balancing is brought about. He doesn't have to know what is actually balancing of a thought. That process he need not undergo, or it is not a mental work. It happens automatically when the doer does not have any attachment to the objects that he thinks of, and also he is willing to or accepting everything that comes his way. So in these two ways he is able to balance, and then he gives back all that belongs to the nature, and then he realizes that he is one part of the trine self. So to this extent we have to come to, in order to grow and to know much more in this life. So through our experience, we'll definitely, every one of us will have to have this knowledge, the self-knowledge that will come to us. Definitely it is going to dawn one day or the other, but we have to keep on proceeding in the spiritual path and continue our spiritual practices. As Patriji has rightly said, a day means it should be a day of meditation. No day should pass without meditation. That is the advice that is given by our great, or the suggestion given by our great master Pitamaha Brahmashi Patriji.
Friends, here I observed some points which I would like to tell you. Percival says that the knower and the thinker very well know what to do, but even to some extent the doer knows, but something else interrupts the doer, and I feel that is the mind. And for the general people who are not meditators. For meditators, I think the doer gets more conscious, and we actually know, we get to the point of knowing what should be done and what should not be done. So that is the thing he says. And one other thing is, as she has pointed, as Mrs. Girija Rajan has pointed out, that there is a time, for some karmas there is a time gap, and some are immediately exteriorized. So there is a time gap, and so we have to wait until the thought completely gets balanced. So that wait period is there in some thoughts. So and what happens is, what he says is, when the thought completely gets exteriorized and balanced, the energy goes back to the nature. That is what he points out here. So I think we'll move on to the next reading.
The energy in a thought is not exhausted until the thought is balanced. Usually there are no outward indications of the connection between results and a still existing thought. And though a thought is a part of the man who issued it, there is then no physical evidence to show its connection with the belated or outstanding exteriorization. But whenever an exteriorization of a thought occurs as an event in the life of someone, and results of joy or sorrow follow, his thought is there and brings about the event to him. From the light plane of the light world, the thought descends to the light plane of the life world, and there the potential life matter grows from the point outward, and clothing the thought becomes actual on that plane. Then the thought descends into the form world, where the form matter becomes actual. Then it descends to the light plane of the physical world. The descent in each case is made when the matter grows from a point to the quarter circle. Then the thought enters the body or bodies through which it is to be exteriorized. If the thought affects many, as the prosperity which comes from a harvest, or a new road, or as the calamity which follows the sweep of a disease or a devastation, it is built into the event in the bodies of all the people, near and distant, who are touched by it. This concretion of a thought may happen instantly, or it may take a long time. If there is a delay, the thought does not reach the physical plane, but waits on the radiant form plane in the abdomen. This is so even though the thought is to be manifested as speech and does not go below the heart. It is nevertheless on the radiant form plane in the region of the kidneys.
So, Percival sir has given vividly how the thought began and how it flows, how it travels. So, initially, the thought, which is full of energy, is created, and it enters the light world, where the very bright and radiant world, where it gets that sort of a subtle body or a subtle form is formed. Then after that, it travels to the form world, where it again gets another form, one more layer of his body. Then it straight away comes to the physical world. there he get the thought is there in him, and the physical body is attained, and then it grows on. Then the same thought has got such power that it remains there with him throughout. Sometimes it doesn't get exteriorized, so it goes into the abdomen. Sometimes, even if it tries to come out, it may remain in the kidneys. So, every thought is there in us, but it may take a while for it to exteriorize according to the time, place, and situation. So, definitely the thought will materialize. So, it may appear to have a delay, but definitely it will materialize. And it may appear to have lost its energy and it has gone away, but it is not so. Every thought will try to exteriorize either by way of action or an event or by even speech. So, like that, so many thoughts they exteriorize, and then we find so many events in our life. We ourselves have created all these things. So, that is how we come into this world and live this life. So, there may be a temporary separation like situation, but always the thought has got its energy until it is balanced, until it is exteriorized. Definitely the energy goes on and on and on. That is what we should remember, and always we should remember to entertain such thoughts which will never have any attachment to the object on which the thought is placed. So, with I think this is what I have mainly understood from the paragraph that is read out.
Friends, actually, about this, we happened to ask Patriji, and Patriji gave us a clear picture of what is light world, life plane, form world, and all that. I'll tell you each and everything so that it's clear to you also. Light is the supracausal, light world is the supracausal world, life is the causal world, and the form world is the astral world. So how a thought travels, he has given beautifully. From the supracausal world, it descends to the life plane, that is the causal worlds, and then to the astral level, and then to the physical. So it all gets a kind of a layer of clothing. The thought itself gets that clothing and then comes to the physical plane through the abdomen of a person. That is what Percival has given, and then it takes that takes the energy that we feed energy to the thoughts and then make it get exteriorized. So we should be so conscious here. The message is we should be so conscious so that we don't entertain any kind of negative thoughts, because when we entertain such negative thoughts, we are feeding energy to it, and it might take quite a while to of course it just comes to that, but even the negative thoughts give you a learning. Ultimately it's all a matter of progression only, but it's better not to entertain negative thoughts. So you get a learning from each and every thought that you have actually got and entertained. So that is the message I feel we should take from this, and have as much as possible not have any thoughts. Even if we entertain only positive or miraculous thoughts, and also not keep any attachment to the thoughts we entertain, and have a free and untethered life. So not tethered to our own thoughts. So that is the message I feel we should take from this para.
When the astral form becomes the physical act, the object or event, a part of the thought, is exteriorized. It may take many physical efforts and a long series of physical events before the balance with the physical event is made by the doer in itself, as it inevitably must be made. Because of the factors in the generation of a thought, the balancing depends upon the conscience and responsibility. At present, only the course of a thought will be kept in view. It is to be remembered that the thought survives and survives, and that the potential exteriorization is not complete until the balancing factor which was and remains in the thought and is an essential part of it is satisfied. The acts, the things, and the events on the earth are but partly exteriorized thoughts, an invisible part remains behind. Many physical effects are necessary in order that one thought may be balanced. Each man must reap all the physical results which come from the act which he thought into the world, though the reaping be separated from the sowing by a life or lives. A man conceives thoughts and issues them apart from earthly time and place. Their materialization into physical acts, objects, and events cannot take place except as conditions on the earth permit. When a design is exteriorized, there may be a number of other exteriorizations before the thought is balanced. The joyful and the sorrowful events into which the thoughts exteriorize may have to wait long before circumstances occur which will give a suitable experience.
Very beautiful words, pearls of wisdom by Percival, sir. See, the one thought that develops in the light world descends to the causal, then to the astral, then to the physical. When it comes to the physical itself, a part of that thought is materialized or exteriorized as a physical form. That itself is the exteriorization of a thought. That we needed this physical body, the doer needed this physical body in order to have all the experiences on this earth. So the sowing and the reaping should be separated only by us. Nobody else can do it. Our own sowing of thought and the reaping of the results is done by balancing the thought, that is, not having any attachment to whatever into an object or into an event or into some other thing that is happening to us. That has to be taken as it is, accepted, and learn the lessons learnt. Then there will not be, there is no attachment. Then the exteriorization will stop, and there will be the sowing and the reaping will be cut off from each other. So that is how we have to come out of the karma that we ourselves have created for us. It may be joyful karmas or sorrowful karmas, what we call in Indian language papa and punya. So those two things need not be there at all in a person's life if we know how to balance the thought, that is, accepting everything that comes our way and learning the lessons. Once we have learnt all the lessons, there is no need further on to have the thoughts exteriorized at all. So they will vanish away. They will never have the power to exteriorize. So our life will be full of other events. We will accept everything, and the others may cause events, but we can create our own things then and live according to our will, our wish, and do great service to humanity. Yes, definitely, I can tell you that PSSM members, the Pyramid Masters, are doing excellent work. They have overcome all the karmas, and they have now started creating. They are co-creators. So they create their own realities and they live a beautiful life because they serve the humanity to the fullest, to the maximum level possible. That is how Patriji has brought about this whole movement. So those who are inside this definitely are very, very fortunate, and they know how to balance their thoughts, and they know how to lead the life, creating every moment for themselves.
Beautifully put by Mrs. Girija Rajan, because this actually says that we are creators of our own destiny. How we create beautifully. Now with meditation we become the most intelligent part of the human population, that we choose such wonderful thoughts and we have a very wise and great reality. So that is so very wonderful. So we become more conscious and we will create such a beautiful, wonderful place now. So hats off to Brahmashri Pitama Patriji for giving us this great path. Thank you so much.
The law of thought is everything existing on the physical plane is an exteriorization of a thought, which must be balanced through the one who issued the thought in accordance with his responsibility and at the conjunction of time, condition, and place. Thus are explained the seemingly unjust, arbitrary, or accidental events in a person's life. Whatever happens to one happens to the at the conjunction of time, condition, and place. The physical events which occur to a man may or may not be exteriorizations of his own thoughts, but the psychic events, the feelings of joy or sorrow which he experiences from each and every event in his life, are the results of his own thinking. So ultimately, Percival's idea is that mankind should be made to understand that it is ultimately the thinking which results in the betterment of the quality of your lives. So, hats off to Percival, and we are thankful to him for all this wisdom. So, once again, bye, friends. Be always in touch with this great book so that you are able to understand more and more and evolve beautifully. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks to Girija Rajan and Purnima too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.